Didn't it always feel like there's a party coming at us? Rock and roll and the blues and folk ballads blowing up our hearts. So in love and all the people showing up to dance, sing the songs, raise your arms in the air and party like it's 1999. Because it was. And the years flew by. And the time got short. We didn't know. And still we danced. And then he was gone. And Eva sings his presence back to me, her voice sticking it to my every cell. Get up and dance, even as my heart can't rise to the occasion. When time runs out, tell them all the tiny thoughts you never shared. The unsung moments that brought you joy in what it was made you love them so, and why you always will. Tender their tired body, face and hands, and hold them to you, knowing when it's time to let them rest, because you'll promise never to let them go, because you won't. Forgive them and yourself any troubled time you may have had. Remember only the burn that tempers love, for this is your soulmate, your lover, your one, as it ever was. This one was published in After Hours, a Chicago literary journal this past winter. It's called Keening. There came a medieval keening wailing through the village late in the dark of that mild spring night. The neighbor who first heard it looked to the cemetery. Nothing could be seen, only a heap of darkness collapsed in front of the newest black tombstone as the wail of sorrow lifted skyward, sailing through the black locust tree branches, flaring out over the sleeping hamlet, raising the scruff on the necks of local dogs, and prickling the backs of those still awake. No one within hearing had any confusion, wondering what it meant. Reincarnation. I've read we can be reincarnated up to 31 times before reaching perfection, nirvana. What plateau had we reached, darling? 25? 30? 5? And seeking that perfect harmony. After half a lifetime searching for each other, where do we stand in the eternal timeline, in that queue that allows us to finally just be always together? Harsh morning light. After a long, lovely sleep and dreams, I wake in his arms. If I'd known he'd been gone with the light, I would have stayed sleeping. Haunting. It could have been the wind batting around the house. The brass chimes maniacally clanging against timbers, waking me in those hours, those wee small hours I used to sleep. It could have been the silent moon's furtive sliding through my window, branding its lament on your empty pillow, knowing that what haunts the little hours is you. This was published in the Wisconsin Fellowship of Poets in the Muse letter as a contest winner a couple of years ago. I dreamed last night I saw this man, a complete stranger, but he was the one. Well, he could never be the one because he's gone. I lost him. But here was this man who was right. And without a moment of hesitation, I walked to him straight into his arms. They were ready. And his whole body fit right into the curves and hollows, right where it's supposed to, my head resting in the niche of that sweet spot between collarbone and ear. And he held still, even as I had no idea how I was going to explain myself. I didn't have to. I had this dream. These days, a lot of my people live alone in solitude these days. My perfect world would be life in a compound with all of them close by, privacy intact, but close enough to be there in the hours when we seek company and solace. The bookman would start a fire and set sentry in the orchard, an open bottle of wine, and before long, there would come the carpenter through the lilacs with a glass and a basket of food, and I'd wander over with the dog. Others would come up the wooded lane, our families and dear ones, close in the beloved village. Welcome, most of them. Find their way to the circle of fire, and we'd talk. 2. The lost one is always with me. I have no wish to ever again explain who I am and what I want and what's important to me to anyone. But mostly, I want no one else. 3. I call the dog to my side and walk the roads with him in silence. There may be peace. There may be peace this night. I cannot say, for my heart is not peaceful. But there are other things, they say, more important than my lonely little grief. And in the scheme of things, I guess, there may be peace. Just not for me. This is one I wrote about our New Year's Eves. We spent in Milwaukee most of the years. And it was published in a Milwaukee anthology this past year. And I had not submitted it anywhere because I always felt there was this place for it that was just right. And when they announced the anthology, that's it. That's where it's going. It's called, and they accepted it. It's called Alchemy. Alchemy, a mingling, the medieval chemical science object of which was to transmute base metals into gold, to discover the universal cure for disease and means of infinitely prolonging life. Alchemy, a frosty New Year's morning from a corner window, our favorite room, we watch the Calatrava salute a new morning sun. Sea smoke rolls off Lake Michigan. The famous blue flame flags our cold walk to the plaza for coffee and eggs and early chatter. Streets lined with brownstone mansions, Gothic churches, and cafes steeped in the sun of the old country. We wander through bookstores, the riverfront, the Oriental at 2 o'clock. City lights dot and glitter the night sky as our cab delivers us to the warmth of golden lobbies, beckoning, come inside. Pfister's piano man teases longing and memory from ivory and shadow. The tower turns, blue jazz on top. We begin again, open as Calatrava's wings. I'm going to say a couple for closing. And think we take a break now to have our other guest read. And then Jeannie and I will have a little special treat for you. Thank you.